some of the cars that he was getting into, he was actually staying in the car, having a fag, and then he actually smoked in the car. So the people that own the car, they don't smoke. So they've gone in the car and say, "What's going on in here?" And then they check the car and stuff had gone missing. It's been a long time. Afternoon, Mark.
Yeah, it's been longer than normal. We've both been busy bees, though, haven't we?
Certainly have. Work takes the front seat, and our hobby, as such, for the time being, takes the back seat. But even still, it gives a little bit of time to have a chat to a few people and talk about what we have been doing. And we've had some feedback, some good feedback about some of the videos we've done, which we'll get into. But what do you fancy talking about today?
Well, I think we should have a little chat about crime. I think.
Good one. Yes, crime indeed. Where do you want to go with it? What kind of crime shall we start with?
Well, I think we can say things like the squatters or coopers for another episode, as with the kind of prostitution, street prostitution, because that's a bigger subject. But I think what people would like to know about this part of Spain is it safe? You know, we're on the Costa del Sol down here, which sometimes gets us a weird reputation for kind of a party place and a bit chaotic at certain times of year. But how safe is it to live here or to come and visit?
Yeah, no, good one. Yeah, let's go there. Obviously, you say about the party scene. The party scene everywhere you go is going to be dangerous because there's always, when there's alcohol involved, and especially late nights, there's going to be some boisterous people and some personalities that come to fruition. But I mean, when you look at a lot of places, especially on the coast where we are, that you used to be able to go to, for example, Torremolinos, Benalmádena, Fuengirola, Marbella, the big resort towns that you've got a lot of tourism, especially nightlife. It does seem to be that it's calmed down quite a lot, especially the likes of Torremolinos and Benalmádena. Fuengirola has its ups and downs. Marbella still has some serious issues here and there, but it does seem to have got a bit better.
I would agree. I think with a lot of things, COVID was kind of like it cleaned, give everything a bit of a clean. I think pricing has something to do with that. It's not so cheap now to come to Spain as before. I mean, away from here, you still have places like Magaluf and Benidorm at certain times of year, which can be very, very fruity, shall we say, with its behaviour. But still, I wouldn't tend to go to the centre of town here in July and August because there is an atmosphere down there. Once again, if in certain areas, not the whole town, but it does seem to be boiling over a lot of time with the temperature, the lot of people, a lot of drunkenness, and it's like a tinderbox at times.
Yeah, and as I said, that tends to happen in a lot of places. I think one thing that I've seen here a lot, again, language barrier, and as soon as someone's a little bit well-oiled, shall we say, and someone says something to them slightly either out of tone or out of not really pronounced properly or something like that, then it gets taken the wrong way and that can spark certain things. But for general public, for example, holidaying on the Costa del Sol, if you are in a group or you're in a couple and you're coming to visit and you're just getting on with your own thing, doing your own thing, it is a very safe place to be. It's not as bad as some places, for example, like Barcelona, where you get on to the metro and the tubes and stuff, and you're constantly looking for pickpockets because they're rife, especially in Barcelona. They're everywhere, but you've got them on the seafront in Fuengirola, but it's not as bad as places like Barcelona. But if you're, like I said, if you're a couple, family, you're doing your own thing, normal time frames and things like that, there's nothing. I don't see that it's a dangerous place to be at all.
No, I think it's especially on the Costa del Sol. It seems to be moving back towards a more family-orientated atmosphere these days. Apart from the small pockets of areas which are always going to cater for a certain type. Interesting. I've been to Barcelona, I think, twice, and both times I've been there, I've seen some sort of crime. And the last time I was there, I saw a motorbike snatch someone's handbag. So it is what it is. It's quite famous for its pickpockets, as you say, around the main tourist areas. But a lot of major cities around Europe are the same.
Yeah.
Here, I would say I do feel safer than I would do, say, in London. But that wouldn't be a fair comparison because there's areas of London which are far safer than here, and areas of London which are far more dangerous than here. What I would say, which has quite surprised me here, is the level of kind of petty crime. And we've both been the victim of that with for instance, our cars being broken into, our houses, someone's trying to break into our house.
By the same person as well.
Yeah, I should let you should tell that story because that that person managed to steal 2 iPods out of my car. But it's just your typical opportunist because they go around trying car doors. And I remember the time my kids were quite young, so I'd come home and I'd obviously forgotten to lock the door with trying to get everybody in the house, and they stole 2 of my iPods. I always took great pleasure in thinking that somewhere in this town, someone's got like 30,000 songs and they're educating themselves with a higher class of music. I know that's the case, but you've got a better streak. It was the same person, and you went full hog. You had cameras up and everything, didn't you?
Yeah, well, originally he stole my mountain bike, and as soon as the mountain bike went missing, I put a camera up. And same thing, you think that when you're parking on your own drive, and in this case, the house that I was renting had a driveway into the house, but because my car was too long, you couldn't close the gates, so the front end of the car was just sticking out. The gates were open, and one night, obviously, come home, I was same thing. Didn't lock the door of the car. Went inside. I woke up the next morning, and my tablet's gone, and so is my computer. And it turns out that I got the footage from the cameras, found out who it was, and obviously shared it with you at the time as well, which I knew who it
Yeah,
was, and we found it was the same person. I actually went to court, both myself, because we actually caught him. The first thing happened. I believe it was a San Juan night, and my other neighbor. We were coming back from the beach, and we heard this kerfuffle going on and coming up the hill, and I see these legs dangling from a wall, and it's my neighbor that's got hold of him on the other side. And he's trying to get away, so I get the gate open with my neighbor. We get him on the floor. I immobilize him, put him on the floor. You can tell by the way he's talking that he's not really all there. So because you're saying you're hurting me, but in a way that would be just visible that he mentally handicapped or something. So we call the police. They get him. Oh yeah, we know who it is. They take him. We go to court. We get to court, and it gets thrown out because the parent, well, the legal guardian can't respond after him. Can't give him any kind of justification because he's mentally handicapped. He says he's asked for them to be institutionalized on 17 different occasions, and they won't do it because he's functional and all of this thing. And the court case just got thrown out. But after that, he got my stuff and then yours.
when you were telling that story, reminded me that in our street, which is gated, as I said, we have 3 different streets on our urbanization, and in 2 of those streets, quite high end cars were stolen. So people, there is that was happening a fair bit. That was only about 2 or 3 years ago. So it cast or order, it seemed that we actually had a mechanism to open the gate and start a car. I know when I go home to my mother, she's paranoid because she's got this kind of key and she keeps it in a special bag so nobody can kind of like duplicate it from a
They
distance.
can read, so they can't read it.
Yeah, they can't read it. So I think that was happening. I don't think that happens so much now because they've probably cured that problem with some sort of technique or technology. But that happened twice on my streets on my
Oh
urbanization.
wow. Oh wow!
Yeah,
I know that on our urbanization as well, same one gate in, one gate out type job. But he was getting over, and he was actually some of the cars that he was getting into. He was actually staying in the car, having a fag, and then he actually smoked in the car. So the people that own the car, they don't smoke, so they've gone in the car. And say, "What's going on in here?" And then they check the car, and stuff had gone missing.
I had my bar 22 years, and we got broken into about 8 times, and
Eh?
we yeah 8 times. I mean, it was always they always knew what they were after. I mean, first off, I'd had a late night and I left the till out, which I never do. I always do hide it, and luckily I didn't need the bills. I left all the change, and they got through a window and they obviously struck lucky and got the till, which is not normally behind the bar. A time before that, someone stole the DVD player from behind the bar, but literally lifted a big pack of CDs off the top of it and something else off the top of it to take the DVD player. But every time they got on a different way, so much so we had our bar was on the first floor, so you had to walk up some steps and come in from behind it, really. So it was kind of like a secluded area behind, and they got a kind of scaffolding pole and a car jack and managed to wedge it on the front door of the bar against the wall and use this car jack to put some pressure on it and break the lock. And they
Wow.
and they got through it. Then we had people cutting open the plastic hoardings you have on the side of the bar to climb in. I was away in Chile once, and my manager called me. He said someone's broken into the bar, and he showed me a picture, and they literally smashed a hole in one of the patio windows. Probably no, only a small dog or a small child could have got through, but it was like a small circle, probably no more than a couple of feet wide, and used that to climb in. But even when we had the alarm, they were always aware they had a 5 or 10 minute window
Yeah.
before the guard came, and they always targeted something. They always knew where the tips were. They always knew where what the DVD player was and things like that. But that happened quite a few times.
Which is obviously someone that's cased the joint beforehand. They come in for a drink or they come in for something and look round quickly and done their thing, which is again is a normal thing. And I've seen the carjack situation happen, but on rejas, on the bars that you see a lot of bars that have got the pull across. Was it the X railings or whatever? I can't remember the name in English, but rejas in Spanish, where you just pull across the iron gates, raw gates, you put the lock through, and away they go. I've seen a lot of those that have had carjacks put in them, and they're just bent completely out, and they've got through that way. Haven't seen it much, or haven't heard about it much recently. Do you think that's just died down now, or do you know more?
Well, a lot of people don't have. There's not so much cash now as before. I mean, pre-COVID, my bar would be probably 25% credit card sales and 35% cash. Well, when I left, it was close to 70% in credit card, if not higher. So there's not so much cash on the sites. The chiringuitos or beach bars quite often got targeted if they had a cigarette machine or something like that. But even a cigarette machine, I mean, you're probably better off keeping your money inside a cigarette machine than you are inside a safe, because they're built so strongly these days. So it doesn't happen as much as before. But I still think you get a lot of robberies here in the summer. But once again, it's more opportunist, isn't it? They're looking for drunk tourists going skinny dipping at 1 o'clock in the morning, and they leave their clothes on the beach, and they steal their stuff and their clothes, don't they? It's all things like that.
Yes.
Did Daniel have a story about that? Do you?
Yes, I did. Yeah, I did. I had my wallet stolen. It was 2 o'clock in the morning. Decided to go for a dip. There were three of us. We went in, came out, and my wallet was gone.
There was three of you. That pretty takes us to a different level. Probably after 9 o'clock watershed level. That one.
But it was very strange as well that it was in a very well lit area. So we thought that it was safe to go in for a dip. But obviously it wasn't. It was very strange. Mind you, we'd had a couple, maybe
a few ales, a few cold drinks were taken.
Just a few.
Well, we're the seafront here is where I am. It's very long but it's pretty well lit. And I have quite a few female friends who say they feel quite safe running at night and things like that. I don't know if that would vary through different times of year, but we had a horrendous story back here in 2002 when I first arrived. These two Australian guys had moved into the area, and they left my bar and they walked round the corner, and a car had pulled over and literally put a gun in someone's mouth and made them kneel on the floor and robbed them. But they left shortly. They said, we're not going to stay in Spain after that. I mean, that kind of thing I've only heard about maybe once or twice in my time here. So luckily we don't get that very often, but it just proves that you're never far away from something like that happening. It's always in the back of your mind. I reckon I go past that point where they were robbed, and I reckon every third or fourth time I go past it, I still think of that now. Yeah.
Well, it's one of those stories that you're going to remember for sure. And we know that there have been various. Should be careful wording because I don't know what the censorship's like on YouTube, for example. But there have been several incidents on the Costa del Sol over the years. I mean, there've been hundreds, but things that have been in the press, things that have been on the news, things that have been very, very visual that have been involved violent crime. And they're the kind of stories that do stay with you. I mean, places in Elveria, there have been places in Calahonda. Fuengirola have had a couple of incidents like that as well. Benalmádena, especially up towards the likes of Igaron and around that area, the old town, the old crew. It seems to be more in the news when it's down Marbella way, or when it has been down Marbella way, because of the nature of supposedly the money down there and the crime down there and everything else. But it does happen in other places as well. It's not always down there.
They're a bit naughty here, the local press and things like that, because Marbella it swings and roundabouts Marbella, if you like it or not. There's some lovely places and not so nice places, depending on what floats your boat, really. See our other video on places in Spain to visit. But a lot of crime happens down there, a little bit more serious. There's a lot of kind of like semi-gang warfare going on there, people fighting for territory and things like that. And you do get stories on alternative forms of media here of gunshots and gun battles in certain areas across certain squares, which doesn't really seem to make the national news very often because they worry about the image of the town. Even here in Fongarola, we've had a few occasions where people have had there's been gun crime and things like that. But it sounds like we're living in the Wild West. I
Yeah,
would
not that.
say it's not that at all. But I would say personally, I think Fongarola is a very safe, where I am, a very safe town to come and visit for with your family or with your couple, because it is a very genteel atmosphere most of the time. But like
Yeah.
everywhere, you have to be aware that you may the possibility of something happening, and if you put yourself in a situation, I don't know, unfortunately, being a young lady running at night in a more secluded area, I mean, they shouldn't have to worry about that kind of thing. But I think it's common sense to think about it before you do that.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And I think that we should kind of put a little warning out there for everyone, really. Is I mean, the 3 or 4 main ways that you can get duped slightly. There is the fake UNICEF, fake questionnaire clipboard, and basically what happens is, can you do a donation to UNICEF? They show you very valid credentials. So that it looks like very valid credentials, and you wouldn't know anything else or wouldn't know otherwise in a different country. But as soon as you get your purse out, the clipboard goes over your purse or your wallet, and they're dipping that while they're trying to show you more information. So their hands are, and I've seen this happen loads of times. And we've actually, me and my best friend, we foiled a plan once, which we will go to that because that's my story. That's one of my stories to do with the police, which we spoke about earlier on. But that's one. The second one is the person that comes up to you and pretends that like they're playing football, or they're being your friend. They're getting into you. They're kind of like, oh, do you do dancing? You do this, and they start rubbing up against you closely. They're trying to tap your pocket, or what they're doing is they're tapping you down and letting someone ahead know that you've got your wallet on you in your back pocket, and they're giving information. It's very important to realize that. Keep your personal belongings in your front pockets, not your back pockets, and don't take your passport out with you. Do not take your passport and all of your documentations out with you. Normally, Spanish police will give you 24 hours to present your legal documentation if you do get stopped for whatever reason. And they say, what have you got? Have you got your passport or ID card or anything like that? If you have it on your phone, show them on your phone, and you normally have 24 hours to show the original in the police station if you're required to. But I know they say by law you're supposed to carry legal identification out with you, but just don't take your passport out. That's just it's such a pain if you get that nicked and you need to go back in the next couple of days. You're right up the creek without a paddle.
That is good advice because I used to get asked that question a lot by foreigners coming in the bar. Do we need to carry ID with us all the time? And I would say that thing, if in this era of camera phones, does take a photograph of your identification and leave it in the safe in the hotel or somewhere like that where it's safer. A bit of a new way of, I suppose, how crime is evolving is there's one here recently with the parking meters where you have to pay to get in. And there's a QR there. So people nowadays will scan the QR to do the thing. But some amazing or very clever thief had put their own QR sticker on top of the other sticker. And it took them to a different website. So they were basically paying people, but not the people they should be paying. So not only were they getting a parking fine, they were contributing to someone's bank account who shouldn't have been getting the money in the first place. Hats off to people like that. But once again, it's crime evolving. I think those kind of crimes now are evolving more than the general kind of, I mean, you're always going to get pickpockets, you're always going to get fraudsters and things like that. But generally, I think the violent crime is dying down. It is a safer place to go. I think you deserve to get robbed if you go skinny dip and leave your phone on the beach. Yeah, a valuable life lesson, I think that. But
It's a good job I put my phone in my shoe then, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's. I would say I feel generally safe here. Not so safe that I would leave my door open at night or go out with the front door wide open. But in general, it's a safer place to live than most places.
Certainly is. And that said, we have still more we can talk about with regards to safety and regards to quite a few things, actually. We're going to look at corruption. We're going to look at all kinds of different things, but that's for another time. So like, subscribe, share, comment if you've got something that you want to let us know about, whether you've been conned, done, duped, or whatever you want to call it on the Costa del Sol. Let us know. Let us know your experience, and we'll share and talk about it, as we are going to share and talk about other comments that we've had recently as well. Like, subscribe, share, do what you need to do, and then you get involved. That's exactly what we want.
Yeah, we're gonna go into I think at a later date definitely about corruption in general in Spain and how it's perceived overseas, and the police here, which is it's a whole subject on its own. A whole
Oh
subject.
yes,
Right.
oh yes.
On that note, Daniel, I will bid you farewell.